Hi, I'm Brian McCann. I'm the writer of Music Theory. This is a novel which features Basie Wenger. She is a just out of college music major, percussionist, and she cannot find a job anywhere. That and a couple other life situations sort of present a problem for her. So her solution is to take a last-ditch desperate job offer from Kansas City. So she agrees. She moves out there to become a choir director. One bad thing, she can't sing. So she's a drummer from Philadelphia, going to live in Kansas City to lead a choir and make a new life for herself, and it'll all work out, right? Sure it will. As soon as she gets there, things start to go a little bit awry, which causes hilarity for the rest of the book, and I hope that you will enjoy having a look at that one. What makes me unique as a writer, we writers are all a disparate bunch of weirdos. So we're all different in our own ways. For me, I am a librarian, so that's one thing. Though granted, many librarians have written novels. Please contact me and I'll let you know some of them. But lots of them have written novels, even well-known ones. But it's great to be a librarian because I get to have a lot of different topics and ideas floating past me all the time, which is fantastic. The other thing that may make me unique is that I run obstacle courses. Things that are where you crawl through mud, under barbed wire, over walls. I've completed the Rugged Maniac the last 3 years in a row, as well as a number of others, so that's pretty fun, and it takes some resolve and change of perspective that I get to bring into my writing. Music Theory is a standalone work. It is a complete book on its own, so it can be just fine. I do have a dream of making it into a series. Book 1 takes place over just 1 month, and I would like to see a series of books following that look at each liturgical season. So the next one up in the book would be Advent, so a good Christmas book would be nice. And after that, we'd follow the different church seasons throughout the first year, so we get a complete look at a year in the life of Basie and this place that she finds herself. A lot of my characters do start as me. When I start a new book, they often begin as a template of some version of myself. I think that's a pretty standard writing practice. That said, I do make a cameo in Music Theory. I'm a character who has a couple of speaking parts and gives Basie a word of advice here and there. So have a look for me. If I could give advice to my younger self, I would say that he should go all in. I would advise him to start sooner instead of waiting to write novels. I started writing drafts of novels when I was a kid, and I just considered it a side hobby. It was just not worth it, right? I would tell myself to take a chance, dive in, and enjoy this adventure sooner. The toughest criticism I ever got was about a previous novel that hasn't been published that at one point involves a character going to an adoption agency and finding information about a birth mother. The character goes and asks for this information, and the adoption agent gives it after some back and forth. And I presented some of this, one of those chapters that had this scene in it, to my previous writing group back in a different location. And one of the writers objected strongly, and she said, "Oh, they can't do that. Adoption agents aren't allowed to give out that information at all. They would never do that." That was really hard to take. It was tough criticism to take politely and respond to because, for one, I knew that. I had done my research. I've actually studied adoptions at a graduate level, and I know about that. But also, people often do things they're not supposed to do. That's why we have novels, pretty much, because people do what they're not supposed to, and we see how things go after that. That's how we learn. So that was one of the toughest criticisms I've had to receive and handle well. I had a lot of different beginnings for this book. It took a lot of different attempts to get chapter 1 right. Some of them started on day 1 of the story, some of them were a lot of prologues way in advance, so that took a lot of scrapping different beginnings, so I found the one that I think works best. It was difficult to do because nobody likes throwing out their work, I think, but it was worth it in the end, so I'm okay with that. I would choose the world of Dominic Toretto from The Fast and the Furious, because I really like the idea of being able to solve all of your problems by driving cars really fast. My process hasn't changed too much from being published. My first draft of music theory was written in about 2007, so I've written a number of novels since then, so my process has worked pretty well since then to produce work. So that process hasn't changed a whole lot. The publishing process itself is new and interesting, which it's been fun to learn. Now for something completely different. Let's see. This is A Christmas Carol and Other Works by Charles Dickens, page 27. Okay. The air was filled with phantoms, wandering hither and thither in restless haste, and moaning as they went. Every one of them wore chains like Marley's ghost. Some few, they might be guilty governments, were linked together. None were free. Many had been personally known to Scrooge in their lives. He had been quite familiar with one old ghost in a white waistcoat, with a monstrous iron safe attached to its ankle, who cried piteously, being unable to assist a wretched woman with an infant whom it saw below upon a doorstep. The misery with them all was, clearly, that they sought to interfere for good in human matters, and had lost the power forever.